The night sky above Earth was never truly dark anymore. Cities glowed with lights, satellites crossed overhead, and planes moved like silent shadows across the clouds. But on this night, everything changed. The stars vanished behind a wall of fire. Massive ships bigger than mountains appeared without warning. They did not blink. They did not shine. They only hung like black giants in the sky. The world fell silent. No planes flew. No satellites moved. No power remained in the cities. The ships had cut everything, as if the planet had been locked in, a cage. People ran into the streets staring upward. Some prayed, others screamed, and children cried as the sky filled with alien thunder. Every government sent emergency messages, but no signal could reach beyond the atmosphere. The world was trapped. Then a voice came, not from Earth, but from the ships above. It was deep, metallic, and cold. It spoke in every human language, at once echoing inside the mind as if the words were carved into thought itself. By order of the Galactic Council, the humans of Earth are placed under law. You will surrender your weapons, your freedom, and your skies. Resistance is forbidden. Surrender is demanded. Silence followed. For the first time in history, every nation, every leader, every soldier knew humanity was no longer alone. And the first message from the stars was not peace but chains. Inside a hidden bunker deep under a military base, one man stood against the silence. General Marcus Hale was not young, but his eyes were sharp. He looked at the screen, showing the ships above Earth. Around him, officers whispered in fear. Some said surrender was the only option. Others said resistance was suicide, but Marcus did not move. Finally, he spoke, his voice cutting the air like steel. We do not follow rules made by strangers, we make our own rules. If the galaxy wants to chain us, they will bleed for every link. The officers stared, shocked. The general had spoken the words that would start the first contact war. Above the atmosphere, the alien fleet began its move. Columns of fire streaked down, burning through clouds, striking at human satellites and space stations. One by one, human creations in orbit died, bursting into fireballs. A rain of debris fell through the sky, burning across the night. It looked like stars themselves were falling. But humanity did not stay silent across the world. Fighter jets launched, missiles fired, and defense systems roared. Though primitive compared to alien technology, the human spirit refused to kneel. Over the Pacific, a squadron of jets flew straight toward a massive alien ship. Pilots knew their weapons were useless, but they carried them anyway. They attacked, and the world watched. Explosions lit up the sky, missiles struck, but the alien shield shimmered like liquid light. The human weapons broke against them, yet the jets kept diving again and again until fire swallowed them. The world wept, but the galaxy learned something new. Humans did not surrender, even in hopeless battles. In orbit, the International Space Station cracked under alien fire. A single escape pod launched, drifting toward Earth. Inside were 3 astronauts, terrified but alive. As the pod burned through the atmosphere, one astronaut whispered, "They want us to bow, but I would rather burn." On the ground, cities shook as alien ships released their soldiers. Tall, armored beings with glowing eyes marched across human soil. They moved with cold precision, following their law without question. Civilians fled, soldiers resisted, and chaos spread through every nation. The invaders believed the war would end in hours, but they did not understand what kind of species they faced. In New York, a bridge was destroyed not by alien fire but by humans themselves. Soldiers blew it apart to stop the aliens from advancing. In Moscow, tanks fired not to win, but to delay. In Africa, villages vanished into forests, refusing to be captured. Everywhere, humans fought, humans resisted, humans endured. The Galactic Council had seen many species before. Most surrendered quickly when faced with overwhelming power. But humans were different. They broke rules. They broke chains. And even when broken themselves, they still fought by the second day. The aliens grew frustrated. The humans had no chance to win, yet they would not kneel. Every battle cost the invaders more time, more soldiers, and more fear. For the first time in centuries, the Council faced an enemy that did not fear their law. Instead, humans laughed at it, mocked it, and defied it. General Marcus Hale stood once more before his officers. Earth was burning, humanity was losing, but his voice was calm. "They think this war will end with our surrender," he said. "They are wrong. This is only the beginning. If they want our freedom, they will have to kill every last one of us." And so, the first contact war began. The galaxy thought humans would follow the law. But humans never followed rules made by others. They made their own, written not in peace but in blood and fire. The alien soldiers stood tall on the smoking ruins of Earth's first defenses. Their glowing eyes searched the dark streets, hunting for survivors. They believed the humans were broken, their spirit crushed, their chains ready to be locked. But they were wrong. In the shadows of a destroyed space station drifting above Earth, a small figure moved. It was a child, no more than 10 years old, hidden inside a wrecked corridor. Her oxygen tank was cracked, her suit torn, but still she breathed slowly, refusing to cry. Outside, alien patrols floated past, scanning for life. They never expected such a fragile creature to survive, but survival was the first human rule. Even before law, even before surrender, there was only survival. Hours later, a noise shook the corridor. The child's weak eyes widened as a pod, scarred with fire, connected to the wreck, not alien but human. The hatch opened and a hand reached inside. "Come on, little one. You're not done yet," a voice whispered. The resistance had begun on Earth. The invaders marched through cities. They carried banners of the Galactic Council, a sign of authority across the stars. To them, humans were now slaves, bound to work for the Empire's endless hunger. Factories, mines, and shipyards would soon be filled with human labor. The aliens believed chains were stronger than courage, but they had never seen how humans reacted when freedom was stolen in an underground shelter beneath London. Survivors gathered around flickering lamps, soldiers, engineers, children, and elders all together. One soldier slammed his fist on the table. "They think we will kneel, but we are not built for kneeling," he growled. Another whispered, "But what can we do? We are weak. We are few." Silence fell until a woman spoke, her voice steady. "Then we fight like shadows. We do not meet their strength with strength. We cut, we vanish, and we strike again. We fight until their chains break under our fire." And so the first resistance. Cells were born across the world. Humans fought in ways the invaders did not expect. Ambushes in the forests, bombs hidden in bridges, hacked signals that confused alien patrols. The aliens laughed at these weak attacks. To them, it was dishonorable, not a real war. But, to humans, it was survival. And every victory, no matter how small, gave hope. In one battle in South America, alien soldiers moved through the jungle. Their scanners detected nothing, no movement, no heat, only silence. Then the trees exploded, humans using their own world against the invaders. Explosive traps, falling logs, and fire swallowed the patrol. The survivors staggered, confused. They had fought in 1,000 wars across the galaxy, but never against an enemy that used the land itself as a weapon. The Council grew angry. They sent new orders. Crush the humans with greater force. Cities were burned, villages destroyed, millions enslaved. The aliens believed fear would end resistance, but it only spread it further. In the ruins of Moscow, alien ships landed carrying cages for prisoners. Families were forced inside, crying as chains closed around their arms. But in the crowd, a man looked up, his face scarred, his eyes burning. He shouted in a voice that echoed across the square, "We are not slaves, we are not chains, we are fire." He threw himself against the guards. Others followed. The chains broke, and the first alien transport burned in flames. The galaxy began to notice. On distant worlds, alien slaves whispered about the humans. "They fight the law. They said, they break chains that no one else could break." Hope, once dead for many species, sparked again. The humans were not only fighting for themselves, they were fighting for everyone who lived under the Council's rule. In a secret meeting, General Marcus Hale addressed the leaders of the resistance. Maps of Earth glowed on the walls, showing alien positions. Our weapons are weak, our numbers are few, but we are human, he said. They think we are broken, but we are not. We bend, but we do not shatter. They will learn that Earth is not a world of slaves, but a world of fighters. A young soldier raised his hand, voice trembling. But sir, they outnumber us, their fleets block the skies, how can we win? Marcus looked at him, calm and unshaken. By refusing to lose every time we fight, every time we rise, we prove we are unchained. We will not win today or tomorrow, but we will win, because we will not stop. That night, the resistance struck the aliens' largest supply base. Dozens of humans armed with stolen weapons moved like ghosts through the ruins. Explosions shook the night as alien ships burst into fire. The sky glowed red, and for the first time humans destroyed something the invaders thought untouchable. The galaxy watched in silence. The humans had no law, no permission, only their will, and their will was stronger than chains. The first contact war had begun with fire, but the Broken Chains War had begun with hope. The Council believed they could enslave Earth. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous. They had awakened humanity's hunger for freedom, and once a human tasted freedom, no chain could ever hold them again. The galaxy believed the war on Earth was almost finished. The Council sent a message to all systems declaring humans broken, their chains ready to close. But when the broadcast reached its peak, something happened no one expected. The screen filled with the image of a grand alien court. The judge, tall and silver-skinned, raised a staff of law. He spoke in a voice that echoed across thousands of worlds. Humans are guilty. They must kneel. They must obey the galactic law. Billions of aliens across the galaxy watched, certain the humans would cry and surrender. But then the court's image flickered, static filled the screens, and suddenly, a human face appeared, scarred, burning with defiance. His voice rang out like fire. We kneel to no one. Your law is not our law. Your chains are not our chains. The broadcast cut to flames, to explosions across Earth's orbit. Alien ships burning. Humans fighting like demons against impossible odds. And for the first time, the galaxy saw not slaves, but rebels, rule breakers. In the ruins of Paris, a resistance cell celebrated in silence. They had hacked the Council's sacred broadcast, something no other species had dared to attempt. They risked their lives to show the galaxy that humans were not silent. One of them, a young hacker named Aria, smiled through blood and smoke. They wanted to silence us, she whispered. But now they cannot stop hearing us. Across the galaxy, whispers spread like wildfire. On slave worlds, chains felt weaker. On mining colonies, workers dared to dream. And in secret, some even raised the name of humans as a sign of rebellion. The Council was furious. The court was not just law, it was fear. And humans had broken that fear in front of billions. New orders went out. Destroy every human transmitter, hunt down every hacker, crush the resistance harder. But the damage was done. The galaxy had seen. The humans had broken the rules of silence. On Earth, battles only grew fiercer. Alien patrols hunted humans through the ruins of cities. But humans struck back not with open armies but with shadows. Ambushes in alleys, bombs under bridges, stolen weapons turned against their masters. Every time the aliens thought they had control, another explosion shattered their certainty. In Asia, a convoy of alien tanks rolled across a destroyed highway. They believed the path was clear, but as they crossed a broken overpass, the ground itself gave way. Explosives hidden deep below shook the earth, collapsing the bridge. The tanks fell into fire, their metal bodies twisted and broken. From the cliffs above, humans cheered and vanished again into the ruins. The aliens had never fought such enemies. Enemies who refused to fight by the rules. The Council called humans dishonorable, criminals of war, defilers of law. But to the humans, those words were meaningless. They were alive, and that was victory enough. Rules had never saved them. Rules had never protected them. Only defiance, only struggle, only fire. General Marcus Hale stood once more before his commanders. He pointed to the maps glowing red with enemy positions. "They call us criminals, but remember this," he said. "It is not dishonor to fight. For freedom, it is not crime to burn the chains. If they want us to follow their rules, then we will show them the truth. Humans do not follow rules. We break them." In the deep jungles of South America, another story unfolded. An alien commander captured a group of human prisoners. He stood tall, declaring, "You will build ships for us. You will work until you break. This is the law of the galaxy." But one of the prisoners, an old mechanic, only laughed. He picked up a piece of scrap, twisted it into a sharp edge, and cut his chains. "You think law is stronger than will," he spat. "Your law is only paper, but my will is iron." The humans rose, attacked, and before the night ended, the alien camp was ash. Whispers of these stories spread across the stars. Other species listened in secret. They heard of humans hacking the court, humans breaking chains, humans laughing at law, and in their hearts, a dangerous thought began to grow. If humans can fight, maybe we can too. The council knew rebellion was like fire. Small sparks could burn an empire if left alone. And now humanity was not a spark, but a storm. The rulers gathered in silence, their faces pale. "Destroy them now, before their defiance spreads," one said. "Erase Earth, erase their name," another whispered. But even as they planned, their fear showed. For in their hearts they knew the truth. The humans had already changed the galaxy. On Earth, Aria sat in a dark room filled with stolen alien tech. Her hands flew across controls, her eyes shining. She whispered to herself, "They wanted us to be silent, but now the stars themselves will hear us. We will never stop. We will never kneel." And so the humans became more than rebels. They became symbols. Symbols of broken rules, of shattered chains, of freedom that no law could kill. The rule breakers had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same. Far away from Earth, on a mining world of black stone and endless smoke, a whisper began to spread. The slaves of that world had heard something impossible. They had heard that humans, a young race from a distant planet, had defied the Galactic Council. They had heard that humans broke chains, hacked the court itself, and shouted before billions, "We kneel to no one." The slaves could not believe it, but the story burned like fire in their hearts. On that world, a single alien slave named Rin stood beneath the shadow of machines. He was thin, scarred, and beaten like every other worker. His species had been slaves for generations, their voices broken, their courage lost. But tonight, he whispered to the others, "Have you heard of the humans? They do not follow rules. They make their own. They fight the law itself." The others shook their heads, afraid to speak, but Rin's words stayed sharp and alive. Meanwhile, on Earth, the resistance struggled to survive. Alien fleets tightened their grip. Cities burned and millions were enslaved. Yet still, humans fought in shadows. Every victory, no matter how small, carried weight across the galaxy. For the Council could control armies, but they could not control stories. One night, in the ruins of Berlin, a resistance cell intercepted a strange signal. It was weak, hidden inside static, but the words were clear. "We are not human, but we are not slaves. If you hear this, we will help." The humans looked at one another, stunned. Another species was reaching out secretly. For the first time, Earth was not alone. General Marcus Hale studied the message. His officers warned him it could be a trap, but Marcus only smiled, his eyes hard. "They fear us because we fight. If others now rise with us, then the Council will tremble." In the deep forests of Africa, a hidden meeting took place. A stolen alien shuttle landed, its doors opening to reveal strange figures, tall, scaled, with eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. They were slaves of another world, freed by rumor. Inspired by humans, they carried stolen weapons, crude and rusted, but held with pride. One stepped forward and bowed, not in weakness, but in respect. "We are not your kind, but your fire reached us. Teach us how to fight." The humans and aliens looked at one another in silence. Different shapes, different faces, but the same hunger in their eyes. The hunger for freedom. Together they struck their first blow. An alien supply train moved across the Sahara, guarded by soldiers of the Council. They expected human attacks, but not allies. From the dunes came fire, both human and alien. Explosions lit the night, chains were cut, and prisoners were freed. The guards tried to regroup, but the attack came from every side. When the smoke cleared, the Council's banners burned, and for the first time, humans and alien slaves stood together as warriors. Word of this spread faster than light. On a farming world, slaves whispered, "Humans fight with us now." On a prison moon, captives sang, "The chains can break." And across the empire, fear grew in the hearts of the rulers. The Council had always believed rebellion was weak. Every species had once resisted, but each was broken in time. What they did not understand was that humans did not fight alone anymore. They had lit a fire that spread from world to world, and fire could not be controlled. Arya, the young hacker, worked day and night. She intercepted signals, spread human messages, and whispered defiance into the ears of slaves across the stars. Every broadcast ended with the same words, "We are human. We do not follow rules. If you want freedom, rise with us." On one distant planet, a slave child heard the message and looked at the chains on his wrists. For the first time, he pulled against them, not in despair, but in hope. But with allies came new dangers. The Council unleashed its inquisitors, elite hunters who tracked rebellion across the galaxy. They were merciless, burning entire villages for one whisper of human aid. On Earth, the resistance paid the price. Every time a new ally joined, the Council punished them harder. Towns turned to ash, forests burned, oceans filled with wreckage. Some humans began to fear their alliance was too costly. "They will destroy us all," a soldier whispered. But General Marcus Hale answered, "Better to burn as free men than live forever as slaves. If our fire dies, the galaxy will freeze again in chains. No, we must burn brighter." And so the war entered a new stage. Not just humans against the Council, but humans and slaves together. Every battle spread fear in the Empire. Every victory shouted to the stars, "We are free, we are unchained, we are fire." On the mining world where Rin lived, chains still held tight. But one night, as he looked to the stars, he saw a flash. A human ship, small and crude, cutting through the dark. It landed in secret, and for the first time in his life, Rin touched freedom. The humans handed him a weapon, and his hands trembled. "This is not just metal," he whispered. "This is hope." The galaxy was changing, not because humans were stronger, not because their weapons were better, but because they refused to kneel, and because now others were learning to stand beside them. The allies of fire had risen, and the Council's empire had begun to crack. The sky above Earth burned again. Alien ships blotted out the sun, their shadows falling over broken cities. From orbit came fire, lances of light that tore through towers and streets. Millions ran, millions cried, and millions died. The resistance fought, but every battle brought heavier losses. The price of defiance was being paid in blood. In New York, a boy held his sister's hand as their city crumbled. The ground shook as alien weapons tore through blocks of stone and steel. The boy whispered, "Don't let go." But when the dust cleared, his hand was empty. The invaders had no mercy. To them, humans were rebels who needed to be erased. Every scream, every flame was a lesson meant to break the spirit of Earth. But still, the humans fought. General Marcus Hale stood before a burning map. His officers argued loudly, some demanding surrender, others demanding total war. One slammed his fist and shouted, "We cannot win, our people are dying, surrender is survival." Another answered, "If we kneel, we are already dead." The room fell silent, waiting for Marcus. He looked at them, his face lined with grief. "We cannot give them Earth. We cannot give them freedom. Yes, we pay in lives, but the cost of chains is far worse." And so, the war raged on. In Africa, entire villages were destroyed. The Council unleashed firestorms that turned green forests into black ash. In Asia, oceans filled with wreckage, burning ships sinking beneath the waves. In South America, mountains themselves shook as orbital strikes carved craters into the land. Everywhere, death. Everywhere, loss. But everywhere, too, resistance. The aliens brought new weapons. They unleashed hunters with armor that bent light. They released machines that walked like giants, crushing everything under their steps. But humans did not fight alone anymore. Their new allies, the freed slaves, stood beside them. Weak though wounded, they carried stolen rifles and fought with desperate fury. Together, human and alien rebel bled side by side, for freedom was stronger than fear, yet freedom was never free. On one battlefield near Moscow, a human captain watched as his family's home turned to dust. He stood in the ash, silent, his soldiers waiting for orders. Finally, he spoke, his voice raw. They killed everything. I loved, they think they can chain me, but I have nothing left to lose. No law can hold me now. He led his men forward, not for victory, but for vengeance. The battle ended with no survivors, human or alien, the ground itself soaked with sacrifice. In the underground shelters, children cried for parents who never returned. Mothers whispered stories of freedom to keep them calm. Fathers sharpened knives, knowing they might never see dawn. The price of defiance was written on every face. But even in sorrow, no one spoke of kneeling. Arya, the hacker, sat before her broken screens. She watched reports of cities falling, allies dying. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Her voice shook as she whispered into the signal. Yes, we are bleeding. Yes, we are dying. But we are still. Here, if you hear me, remember this. Chains kill the spirit, but our spirit is alive. We pay now so you may stand tomorrow. Her message spread across the stars. On distant worlds, slaves wept, not from despair but from hope. Humans were paying the price of freedom, and that meant freedom was real. The Council grew furious. They had given humans pain, expecting surrender. Instead, the pain only hardened them. Like steel hammered in fire, every loss turned into defiance. Every death became a reason to fight harder. Still, some humans began to doubt. In a dark shelter, a soldier whispered, "Maybe we should surrender, maybe we should live under chains, at least we will survive." His comrade, bleeding from a wound, laughed bitterly. Survive as what? Animals, tools, shadows, better to die free than live like that. The war tested every human heart. It broke some, it hardened others, but the fire of resistance never died. One night, General Marcus Hale walked through the ruins of a hospital. He saw rows of wounded soldiers, children without parents, broken faces staring at him. He knelt beside them, whispering softly, "I cannot bring back what we lost. I cannot heal your pain. But I promise you this, every drop of blood, every tear, every life given, none will be wasted. We will make the galaxy remember. We will make them fear the price of trying to chain us." The humans knew the truth. They could not win quickly. They could not win easily, but they could not stop. Because surrender meant more than chains, it meant their children would never know freedom, and that was a price no human would ever pay. So Earth burned, the oceans boiled, the cities crumbled, but the people did not kneel. They fought in ashes, they fought in shadows, they fought in silence, and every moment, they reminded the galaxy of one truth. Freedom has a price, and humans were willing to pay it. Beneath the broken surface of Earth, deep tunnels stretched into the dark. There, hidden from alien eyes, humans worked day and night, not with peace in their hands, but with fire, metal, and fury. Factories glowed red, sparks flew, and the sound of hammers rang like thunder. The galaxy thought Earth was broken, but below the ground, something new was being born. The first human-made warship rose from the shadows. It was crude, sharp-edged, and scarred with rough welds, but its engines roared like beasts, and its hull carried the name painted in fire, Iron Will. It was not beautiful, it was not perfect, but it was human. It was built not by slaves, not by rules, but by defiance. General Marcus Hale stood before the ship, his hand resting on the steel. Around him, workers and soldiers watched in silence, their faces tired but proud. "This ship is not just metal," Marcus said. It is every tear we cried, every drop of blood we spilled, every life we lost. It is proof we are not broken. The galaxy will see this and they will know. Humans rise from ashes. The iron will launched into the night sky, engines shaking the earth. The people cheered as fire trailed behind it. 4E. The first time since the war began, humans had their own starship, not stolen, not given, but forged by their own hands. The council laughed when they heard the news. How can humans build ships against us? They mocked. They are children with toys. Their fleets are dust before ours. But their laughter ended when the iron will struck. In orbit above Earth, an alien patrol ship scanned the skies. Its crew relaxed, certain no human craft could touch them. Then a shadow moved behind them. The iron will appeared, its crude cannons firing, explosions ripped across the alien hull, and the patrol ship burned. The galaxy watched in shock. Humans had destroyed their first real enemy ship with their own creation. The news spread faster than light. Across Earth, factories doubled their work. Old factories that once made cars, now made engines. Mines that once dug coal now dug rare metals for ships. Every human hand became a builder. Every city a hidden forge. And with every ship, the iron fleets grew. The second ship was named Free Spirit. The third, Unbroken. The fourth, Defiance. Each name was chosen not for fear but for strength. Each ship carried the memory of the fallen. In Africa, children painted the names on steel plates with their bare hands. In Asia, workers carved symbols into the hulls for luck. In Europe, engineers slept beside engines rising only to continue. Every ship was not only a weapon, but a story. The council sent larger fleets to crush the humans, massive ships, shining with advanced technology. They believed no crude human fleet could survive against such power. But humans did not fight by their rules. The iron fleets struck in ambush. They hid in asteroid fields, in shadows of moons, in the ruins of satellites. When the council fleets passed, the humans struck. Explosions lit the dark. The aliens screamed in disbelief. How could crude ships tear through their mighty fleets? The answer was simple. Humans were willing to fight with everything, even with nothing. On one battlefield near Mars, the Iron Will faced 3 alien cruisers. It was outgunned, outnumbered, and damaged. But its crew fought without fear. They rammed the ship into the largest cruiser, tearing both apart in fire. The captain's last words echoed through the comms, for Earth, for freedom, no chains. The sacrifice shook the resistance, but it also lit a fire in every human heart. Soon the iron fleets were not just a defense, but a symbol. Every ship launched sent a message to the galaxy. Humans rise, humans fight, humans endure. Other species began to send help, smuggling stolen parts and weapons to Earth. Some even sent volunteers desperate to fight alongside the humans. The council grew desperate. They unleashed propaganda, declaring humans reckless, criminals, destroyers of peace. But the galaxy did not believe, because peace under chains was not peace at all, and the humans had shown the galaxy another path. In a dark chamber on Earth, Marcus Hale looked at the growing fleet. Dozens of crude ships floated above the planet, scarred but alive. He turned. To his officers, his voice steady. The galaxy thinks we are weak, but look above. That is not weakness, that is fire. They think rules control us, but our iron breaks their laws. This is only the beginning. This is the rise of the iron fleets. The people of Earth looked to the skies again. Once, they saw only alien shadows. Now they saw human ships, human fire, human courage. The night sky no longer belonged only to the enemy. It belonged to humanity. The iron fleets had risen, and the galaxy trembled. The galaxy had watched Earth suffer. The galaxy had watched humans fight. Now the galaxy would watch something new. The humans were no longer only defending. They were striking back. On a distant slave world, a barren desert lit only by moons, the ground shook. Alien overseers whipped their captives, forcing them to dig under the heat. The slaves had no hope, no voice, no fire. Until the sky split open, a human fleet appeared, rough ships painted with names like Defiance and Iron Will. The aliens panicked, thinking the humans came to conquer. But the humans did not land as rulers. They landed as liberators. The first human soldier to step onto the sand shouted words that spread like lightning. "We are not here to chain you, we are here to break chains." Explosions followed, weapons roared, and the overseers fell. The slaves, stunned, looked at the humans, unsure if this was real. Then one slave picked up a dropped weapon, then another, and soon the desert was filled not with silence but with fire. The galaxy burned for the first time with rebellion. News spread faster than light. On a prison moon, captives carved the word human into the walls. On a farming colony, workers whispered of ships that came not for conquest but for freedom. And on world after world, the spark grew into flame. The council panicked. For centuries they had ruled through fear. No one had dared to rise. No one had dared to fight. But now, everywhere, slaves looked at their chains and thought, if humans can break the law, maybe so can we. The iron fleets did not move like the council's great armadas. They did not march in neat lines or follow strict orders. They struck like storms, appearing from shadows, vanishing into the dark. One day above a slave mine, the next day above a prison moon. Everywhere they went, chains snapped, banners burned, voices rose in one great battle. The Iron Fleet struck a council garrison above a water world. The alien commander laughed at the crude human ships, but when the fighting began, he realized something terrifying. The humans were not only fighting, they were teaching the slaves to fight. Every freed prisoner became a soldier. Every broken chain became a weapon. By the end, the commander's fleet was in flames. The water world was free. General Marcus Hale watched the rebellion spread. From his command deck, he looked at the maps, filled with red flames, each marking a world in revolt. His officers were amazed. "Sir, the galaxy itself is on fire," one whispered. Marcus only nodded, his voice steady. "That is the point. They thought we were alone. They thought Earth was only one world. Now they will learn that every world can be Earth." But victory came with blood. The council did not surrender. They unleashed punishments unlike any before. On one world, they burned entire cities to ash, to stop the humans from landing. On another, they poisoned oceans to kill slaves who dared to rise. Billions died. The humans saw this horror, and their hearts turned heavier. Freedom had a price, and the galaxy was paying it. Aria, the hacker, intercepted signals of entire planets crying for help. She wept as she whispered into her comms. "We cannot save all, but we will save many. We cannot stop their fire, but we can spread our fire. The council cannot burn faster than we can rise." The council rulers gathered in silence. Their voices were sharp with fear. Humanity spreads like infection. They do not follow rules. They make new ones. If this continues, our empire will collapse. But none of them knew how to stop it, because humans had broken the one weapon the council always trusted: fear. In the slave camps, the stories grew larger. They said humans could not die. They said human ships rose from ashes. They said humans carried fire inside their blood. The truth was smaller, but also greater. Humans were not gods. They were not invincible. They were only free, and that was enough. On one battlefield above a volcanic world, the Iron Fleet fought against a massive council dreadnought. The dreadnought was a fortress armed with weapons that could shatter mountains. The humans had no chance, but they did not retreat. The ship, unbroken, rammed into the dreadnought, exploding in fire. The crew gave their lives, and the explosion cracked the dreadnought's armor. The rest of the fleet struck hard, and the giant fell. The galaxy watched, stunned. Even the council's greatest weapons could bleed. The galaxy was burning, not only with war, but with hope. Slaves rose, humans fought, and the council crumbled piece by piece. Marcus Hale stood before his soldiers, his voice like steel. "Look at what we have done. We are not conquerors. We are not rulers. We are fire, and fire cannot be chained." The humans had turned rebellion into a storm. The storm had turned into fire, and now the fire spread without. And the galaxy burned, and for the first time in history, the council feared the dark. Because in the dark they saw human eyes, unbroken, unchained, and alive. The galaxy was burning. Slaves had risen, humans had struck, and the Council's empire trembled. But the rulers of the Council were not ready to surrender. They gathered in their hidden chambers, cold eyes staring at one another. If rebellion spreads, the empire dies, one said. If humans live, the law dies, another whispered. And so they made their choice. They would unleash the last law. In the silence of deep space, a world killer began to awaken. It was older than the empire, built in secret ages ago, a machine the size of a small moon, its core glowing with stolen suns. It could fire once and erase an entire planet. The Council had sworn never to use it, but now they prepared to point it at Earth. On the surface of that weapon, millions of slaves worked, chained to its endless machines. They had no idea what they built. They only knew the air burned and the ground shook. Until one of them overheard, the guards whispering, "It will fire on the human world." The slave froze, his heart pounding. He whispered to others, and soon the secret spread like poison. The galaxy's greatest weapon would be turned on the world that had given them hope. Meanwhile, on Earth, the resistance rebuilt in the ashes of battle. The iron fleets grew, more ships rising from hidden factories. But even as humans gained strength, whispers of the weapon reached them. Arya intercepted a broken signal, her face pale as she read it. "They have something," she whispered. "Something that can destroy us all." General Marcus Hale listened. In silence, his officers shouted, arguing about defenses, about retreat, about surrender. Finally, Marcus spoke, his voice heavy. "They believe this weapon will end us. They believe it will erase Earth. But if we run now, we prove them right. No, we will not run. We will strike first." And so, a plan was born. The iron fleets would attack the world killer before it could fire. It was a suicide mission, but it was the only choice. The fleets gathered above Earth, scarred ships painted with names of fire: Iron Will, Free Spirit, Defiance, Unbroken, and many more. Pilots said farewell to families. Engineers prayed. Children waved to the skies. The people of Earth knew this could be the end, but they also knew that freedom was worth every risk. The fleets launched, a storm of crude human ships streaking into the dark. Slaves on distant worlds looked up and whispered, "The humans go to fight the last law." Hope and fear filled the galaxy. If the humans failed, the fire would die. If they succeeded, the empire itself could fall. When the fleets reached the weapon, they saw it. A machine as large as a moon, glowing like a second sun. Its core pulsed, building energy to fire. Around it, an armada of Council warships waited. The largest fleet ever seen, a wall of steel and fire. The humans were outnumbered 10-1. The battle began in silence. Then the stars themselves shook. Alien cannons roared, human ships dived, explosions burned across the void. The iron fleets fought like shadows, striking fast, vanishing into debris. They had no order, no law, only will, but even will was not enough. One by one, human ships fell, the Free Spirit torn apart, the Defiance swallowed by fire. Every death cut into the fleet, but every death also lit the others brighter. Inside the Unbroken, Arya hacked the weapon's defenses, her hands shaking. "If I can reach the core, I can stop the fire," she whispered, but alarms blared. Council ships closed in. The crew around her shouted, "Do it. Even if we fall, do it." And so she did, her mind diving into alien firewalls, her voice whispering, "We do not follow your laws, we break them." Meanwhile, Marcus Hale commanded from the Iron Will. His ship shook with every blast, his crew bleeding but still fighting. He looked at the glowing weapon in the distance and knew, if it fires, Earth dies. He gave his final order. "All ships, strike the core now." The fleets surged forward, ramming into larger ships, exploding in fire. They turned themselves into weapons, into sacrifices. One human ship crashed directly into the weapon's shield, tearing it open. Arya's hack pierced the core, slowing its fire, and the Iron Will charged through the breach. Its engines screamed, its cannons burned. Marcus whispered to himself, "This is the price of freedom, and I will pay it." The Iron Will slammed into the weapon's core. A blinding, Light spread across the stars. The Council's fleets were thrown into chaos. The world killer cracked, its stolen suns collapsing into fire. The explosion lit the galaxy brighter than dawn. When the light faded, the weapon was gone. The iron will was gone, but Earth was still alive. The galaxy shook with disbelief. The humans had faced the last law, and they had broken it. Across the stars, slaves cheered on prison moons. Chains shattered. On farming worlds, voices rose. The humans fought the last law, and they won. The Empire is not eternal. The chains are not forever. The Council, once untouchable, now trembled. Their greatest weapon was destroyed, their greatest law was broken, and the fire of rebellion burned brighter than ever. The humans had paid in blood, but they had proved a truth the galaxy would never forget. No law was stronger than will. No chain was stronger than freedom. The last law had fallen, and the galaxy was now on fire. The galaxy had seen the impossible. The last law was destroyed, the world killer gone. The Council's greatest weapon shattered, and with its fall, the Empire itself began to break. On the Council's throne worlds, statues of rulers stood for thousands of years, tall cold figures carved in stone, reminders that no species could resist the law. But now, those statues fell. Slaves pulled them down with chains once meant for their necks. Voices rose, shouts of freedom echoed through streets that once only knew silence. On Earth, the iron fleets limped home, half the ships gone, countless lives lost. But victory in their hands, General Marcus Hale stood aboard the last surviving flagship, his face pale with exhaustion. He looked out at the stars, now filled with rebellion. "They thought our fire would die with the last law," he whispered. "But instead our fire has spread to the galaxy. In the prison moons, the guards abandoned their posts. On the farming colonies, overseers were hunted down by the very workers they once whipped. Everywhere the Council's banners burned, and in their place the word freedom was written, often in blood, often in fire." The Council rulers tried to gather their fleets. They shouted orders, but fewer and fewer obeyed. Entire legions deserted, ships vanishing into the dark to join the humans or to escape the chaos. For the first time in centuries, the rulers of the Council felt fear. The Empire was breaking. The chains were snapping faster than they could be reforged. But the cost for humans was still heavy. Earth was scarred, its oceans filled with wreckage, its skies still black with smoke. Every family had lost someone. Every city carried graves, yet even in grief, they refused to kneel. They built more ships. They forged new weapons. Because they knew the Council would not surrender without one final strike. Arya, the hacker, worked night and day to spread messages across the stars. Her voice was tired, her eyes red, but she kept whispering into the void. "Stand, fight, rise. The Empire is breaking. Now is the time to burn the chains. Now is the time to be free." Her words became a song across worlds. Children in slave camps repeated it like prayer. Soldiers in rebellion shouted it as they charged. And in the shadows of broken empires, hope became louder than fear. In one great battle above the Council's jewel world, the iron fleets fought alongside hundreds of alien ships, not slaves anymore, but free warriors. The Council's navy tried to hold the skies, but their unity was gone. For every ship that fought for the Council, 2 more turned against them. The skies blazed with fire, and when the battle ended, the jewel world was free. General Marcus Hale addressed his soldiers after the battle. His voice carried across human and alien channels. "We were once alone, one world against an empire. Now the empire itself collapses under the weight of our fire. Do not stop, do not rest. Every star that burns is a promise, and that promise is freedom." The Council throne itself was no longer safe. On the capital world, rebels marched through, streets that had never known defiance. The rulers fled, their palaces abandoned. The galaxy had seen them as gods, unbreakable, untouchable. Now they were nothing but cowards hiding in the dark. But victory did not bring only joy. It brought questions. In the councils of the free, Voices argued. What happens when the empire is gone? Who will rule? Who will guide the stars? Some looked to the humans, expecting them to take the throne of power. But Marcus Hale shook his head, his voice cold. We did not fight to be rulers. We did not fight to be kings. We fought to be free. If you want a throne, break it. If you want chains, burn them. There will be no new empire, not from humans. This answer spread across the stars, shocking many, inspiring more. The humans had broken the empire, yet they refused to replace it. They offered not law, not chains, but choice. On one freed world, a child asked her mother, "What are humans?" The mother smiled. They are the ones who showed us the law can break. They are the ones who showed us the empire can fall. They are the ones who burn not to rule but to free. The empire was broken, but the war was not over. The council still had fleets, still had soldiers, still had fire. And they would not go quietly. They would strike again, desperate to reclaim power. The humans knew this, and they were ready. Marcus Hale stood once more on the command deck. The stars outside burned with rebellion. His voice rang through the fleet. The empire is broken but not gone. They will fight until their last breath, and so will we. Not for conquest, not for crowns, but for freedom. The galaxy is ours, not to rule, but to free. And so the galaxy changed, the chains shattered, the empire fell. But in the fire of collapse, a new question rose. What law would replace the old? What future would humans shape? The answer waited in the final battles to come. But one truth was already clear. The empire was broken, and it was humans who had broken it. The galaxy was quiet. For the first time in centuries, the chains of the council lay broken. The empire that had ruled through fear and law was gone. But in the silence came a question. What comes after the fall? On Earth, the people looked to the skies. Once those skies had burned with enemy fire. Now they burned with ships carrying human flags. Ships not of conquest, but of defiance. The iron fleets floated like scars across the stars, proof of sacrifice, proof of survival. General Marcus Hale walked through the ruins of a city. Children played among shattered towers, soldiers rebuilt bridges, families planted gardens where ashes still smoldered. He saw grief, he saw scars, but he also saw life. The humans had not only survived, they had endured, and now they would decide what to do with their victory. The galaxy waited. Freed slaves across 1,000 worlds looked to humanity. Some begged, lead us, rule us, show us how to stand. Others feared, whispering, will the humans become the new council? In secret chambers, alien leaders argued. Better a human empire than chaos, one said. No, another answered. They are not conquerors, they are something else. The council's last rulers were captured, dragged before a galactic gathering. They cried for mercy. We only followed law, we only kept order. Without us there will be chaos, they shouted. But their words had no weight. The galaxy had seen their order, their chains, their cruelty. And no one believed in them anymore. In that same chamber, filled with species once enslaved, the humans were called forward. Marcus Hale stood before them, his uniform scarred, his eyes tired but sharp. He did not kneel, he did not bow, he only stood. The room waited. Would humans take the throne? Would humans declare themselves the new rulers of the stars? Marcus spoke, his voice steady, carried on every channel. We did not fight to replace one empire with another. We did not fight to sit on a throne of chains. We fought to break them. If you expect humans to rule, you will be disappointed because humans do not follow rules, and we will not make rules for you. We will not rule. We will stand. The chamber was silent. Then whispers spread. Some were shocked, some were afraid, but many were inspired. The humans had rejected the crown of power. They offered something greater. Arya stepped forward, her voice softer but just as clear. You ask what law will rise after the empire. The answer is not their law, not our law, but your choice. Every world must choose for itself. Freedom is not given, it is taken, it is lived. We gave you fire, now you must carry it. The words spread across the galaxy. On one world, freed workers formed councils of their own. On another, villages joined together to protect each other. On distant colonies, species long enslaved chose leaders by vote. For the first time, the galaxy was not united, not orderly, not neat, but it was free. Still, the humans knew the struggle was not finished. The Council's armies were shattered but not gone. Warlords rose, pirates appeared, chaos spread. Freedom was never clean, never easy. But the humans accepted this truth, because freedom was not about safety. It was about choice. Marcus Hale addressed his people once more. We are not saviors, we are not rulers, we are proof. Proof that chains can break, proof that laws can fall. The galaxy is free not because of us, but because of all who stood. Remember this, humans do not follow rules, we make them. And the only rule we will make is this: no one shall ever live in chains again. The chamber erupted, some cheered, some cried, some stood in silence, but all of them knew they had witnessed something the galaxy had never seen before. Not an empire rising, but an empire ending. Not new chains forged, but old chains broken on Earth. Children learned the story of the war. They learned how their parents fought, how their fleets rose, how their people burned but never broke. And they learned the final lesson, that humanity's greatest victory was not winning the war, it was refusing to become the thing they had destroyed. On distant worlds, alien children asked, "What are humans?" And their elders answered, "They are the ones who broke the empire. They are the ones who fought the law. They are the ones who chose freedom when they could have chosen power." The galaxy was scarred. The galaxy was uncertain. The galaxy was free. And in the silence of the stars, a single truth echoed. Humans do not follow rules. Humans make them. But only through struggle, only through fire, only through defiance. This was the human law, not a chain, not a crown, but a promise. A promise carved into the galaxy forever.